So that was one of our first. We only really had 2 acquisitions in the history of the company. Everything else was pretty much organic growth. 1987. Okay, it was a very joyous year and a very sad year. A very joyous year because we broke into the top 50. And in our industry, when you're in the top 50, you know, you've made it. You know, you've kind of like, that's pretty neat. So we broke into that. And that was the joyous part. The sad part was my grandfather at age 88 passed away, marking the end of an era of 3 generations working in the business. Months before he passed away, he was still coming in on a daily basis. And some of you may remember that. He would patiently go through every check and make sure all the invoices tied up before anything was signed, and our accounts payable clerk would very patiently sit with him and make sure that he was okay with signing checks. But we certainly miss that era of 3 generations working at once in the business. There's a speech on your tables. I just want to take an excerpt. This was from an employee appreciation speech that my father gave the year after my grandfather passed away. And the one excerpt from my father's words were, "Without this man whose willingness to accept change and take risks, to the point of investing nearly all of his life savings to build the present building we're in 1962, a man who actively contributed to a business while other men were retiring, I doubt we would be here today." So my grandfather was a risk taker also, supported by my grandmother and perpetuated by my father to grow the business. In '89, we entered into the Chicago market, which was a big deal for us. It ended up being probably about 30% of our sales when we sold was out of the Chicago market. It wasn't too difficult because it was difficult from a logistics perspective, but it was really all about customer service. And I remember a driver coming back saying, a customer was just floored when I walked into a Chicago downtown restaurant and I asked them, where can I put your product? Because our competitors just kind of left it at the back door and took off. But we were able to successfully enter that market 150 miles away, understanding our operations were we would receive an order at about 5 p.m. every day, up to 5 p.m. And our job was to get that process loaded, shipped, and be downtown Loop by 8 o'clock the next morning. So we had a very sophisticated, if you ever visited at night, it's just sheer chaos. But our ability to enter the Chicago market was certainly part of our success. 1990, we were awarded the Innovator of the Year. It's an honor that was typically for some single innovation in which a company changed the industry. And when they came to do the article on this particular award, discovered that there was not one single thing, but there were many things at TPC, whether it was its management structure, its warehousing structure, its sales department, all of its employees, desktop publishing. We had a corporate librarian that would manage our 10,000 items. Things that no one else in the industry had done. We'd have been awarded that in 1990. So, in summary, it's 77 to 90 was a time of true transition from an autocratic management structure to a team-based level of experts. From a local distributor to a regional player with national recognition. And from a sales volume of 13 million to a sales volume of 115 million, doubling its size approximately every 3 years. This is all possible by a man who listened to his father when he said, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. Very simple words. That man was my father, and those words are truly true today. What has history taught me? It's not about brick and mortar, it's about building an environment where people can thrive and succeed. It's about surrounding yourself with talented people with a common goal. I was part of something built by hundreds of great people who understood we learn from the past, yet we build looking to the future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Ted Tomes, I'm the youngest of the family of the 5 kids, and much like usual, they've all spoken too long, and so now I need to move my part up a little faster so you all can get out in a reasonable time. And those who have ever heard me speak understand the difficult aspect of that. So I want to touch base on some of the things that also then happened in the 90s that Tom's finishing up on. Our food show at the time was themed the gay 90s, and we actually had Walter Payton come and speak at that food show actually. We also reintroduced that event where we had actually, because of the Golf Classic, had stopped customer events, so that was one of our first reintroductions of a major customer event. At the time we were shipping about 22,000 cases a night, to give you an idea that chaos Tom was talking about. We moved all the retail items. We were still, again, we're doing some sales to retail locations, even in the 90s, they were part of that, and we moved that to the Valley Produce Building, and we're doing all our retail out of that space, which was across River Drive. We had 347 employees, 53 salespeople, of which 13 of them were sales to the retail side of the house. And we had also become given the distinction of being the second fastest growing food distributor in the nation at that point. My time period is going to cover 91 to 2002 when we sold the business. The main themes through that time frame, we would say, were expansion, technology, and leadership. I joined the company in 1997, and I'll mention that in the future, but I started working in the business in summers in high school, washing racks, sweeping floors. I was also the receiving clerk for a couple summers. A couple of my stories was, one of my other job was to I got elected, if you will, by the warehouse supervisor to go help another group of folks, temporaries, that were going to the county dump in order to search for a customer list that had been lost for an event and got thrown away. And so that summer I got to spend a full day in the county dump looking for a list of lost customer lists. So that's, no, didn't find it. They came to find it out. I can say he's not here. My brother, my oldest brother's on the lost list. He found it later. I then went to Drake University in Des Moines, worked for the Financial Group there for 5 years, and then was asked to join the company as the corporate trainer back in '97 when I joined the company. In 1991 is when the company made its introduction and announcement of an expansion of a $13 million move to the Rock Island side of the Quad Cities to build a 209,000 square foot facility. There was a lot of discussion at the time, and it was the move from Iowa to Illinois, and the city of Rock Island and the state of Illinois really stepped up to the plate at the time and offered a great incentive package to make sure that our move was going to work for us long term. Again, we were building a 209,000 square foot facility. It was 50 feet tall, 32,000 square feet of office, 33,000 square feet of freezer, 75,000 square feet of dry storage. The city of Rock Island stepped up, provided at no cost 50 acres of the land, the street improvements, the water and sewer service, waived sales tax on the building materials for the construction, and then also did a 10-year scaled down property tax abatement, estimated at a total package of nearly $2 million that would make that project come to life. So the city of Rock Island really stepped up, and I think over the years has shown that that investment has paid off. 1992, the first day that the year came across the memo in preparing for the speech, is the first day that we made a completely smoke-free building. So you can kind of think back then of starting that process of buildings becoming smoke-free. So 1992, first day was, and there was a lot of people that affected, and it was a pretty big deal back then, even I remember. It was also the 35th anniversary of my father working in the business. And as Tom mentioned, this was the year that we rolled out pen-based laptops to the sales force. Had 65 units out there with the first computer system that used Windows in the food service distribution business. And so it was very cutting edge technology that really took the sales force to the next level. In 1992 as well, as part of the construction process, soil testing came out that wasn't the right space, more land was needed, acquired some more land, shifting of the position of the building in the spot, and which delayed the project. Again, it was projected to be finished in the end of 92, ended up being in 93. The first part of the year, the $16 million bond was issued by the state of Illinois and the Quad City Industrial Association to help fund this program. And Tom alluded to the $1 million bond that was before. This kind of goes back to, as Tom, even Mike said, it was a lot of money to sign your name on without a line to. Tom was appointed the Vice President of Corporate Development that year. We became the 26th largest food distributor in the country, selling 11,000 items in stock, and we had 58 sales consultants. And if you may recall in history, that was the year of Hurricane Andrew, of which we, with our leasing company, our truck leasing company, did a partnership and sent $20,000 worth of product to the victims of Hurricane Andrew. And also that was the year that my sister Mary Beth chose to leave the building and build the wonderful family she has today. 1993, we introduced Telpro Connect, which was the first computer-based system for our customers to actually order off of, that we would install on a computer in their location, and they were actually able to place orders and transmit them to our offices in Rock Island to be able to have their orders shipped to them the next day. Also introduced computer-based touchscreens in the trucks that help monitor the truck activity, as well as all the orders, and route information was right there for the drivers in their cab every time they got in. 1994 is when we officially moved into the new building. I think that this was a most telling comment from, again, another customer or employee appreciation dinner from my father, stating TPC is a strong company built with strong people who have been able to meet and beat many of the challenges set before us. And I think that was a common theme through this whole time period. The building, the move into the new building took an approximately 66,000 man-hours of time and was done mainly over a 3-day weekend, the first January in 1994. Over 10 miles, excuse me, of telephone and data cables went into that building, and if you'd put the racking end to end, it would extend it over 2 miles, 30 feet high and 3 feet wide. Here you kind of see an aerial view of the facility as it was when it was completed. The L-shaped pattern was a new pattern in the warehouse industry and allowed for an expansion. You might not be able to see the boxes around it very well, but go from the 209,000 square feet to actually over 1 million square feet was the ability to be expanded to. And you can see the signing of the documents with the mayor and the governor there. 1995, we sold the West River Drive building to Mintner Weisner in December. We also did our second acquisition of Applewood Foods out of Hobart, Indiana at the time, and acquired a good number of associates from there that also folded into our Chicago sales offices as well. Stuart was named the chairman of the Nugget buying group that we discussed earlier. Nugget had grown substantially by then and was quite the organization. He became chairman in that year. We talk about many of all the accomplishments and so forth. I think it's also noteworthy of some of the challenges we faced. In 1995, too, we had a whole full sales district actually leave the company in one day. Gave resignation, 11 individuals representing about $35 million in sales. Actually able to maintain over half of that business, gain and actually increase sales to meet the other half that same year. And so it showed the challenge that we were able to meet, and no one at the time in the industry had ever seen anything like that happen and was ever come out of it, let alone in 1 year of it. So.